the way we view corporations and contributions. Mark?
Thanks. Is this still the 2-minute thing, or is this the...
You can answer 2 minutes or less.
Okay. I've tried to do some of the less, but thank you for that hint. You know, it's, I guess I'm not surprised that Time wants to know if the Constitution still matters and that they picked that particular graphic, and should we be afraid? You know what, we all come from different backgrounds, and it's kind of dark times when we talk about our state and our nation in terms of some of the stuff and the basis of your question. But I think you have to have a belief that, yeah, that there are some tough times, and there have been tough times before, but these are the times that require people who really believe in the foundations of how we got this far along as a nation and a state to go fight for those. And I won't speak for anybody else, but I think that's kind of engendered in this special election that the whole nation will be watching. Those foundations are worth fighting for. And they are worth fighting for because that document, even though it is several hundred plus years old, let's face it, those folks did a really good job. Maybe not perfect, but they did a really good job, a good enough job, to where it shouldn't be messed with unless you follow the procedures, which are very hard to duplicate for adding to it. And so yeah, it does matter. And as someone who not only has served themselves, but who had the privilege of having a child go serve to defend this most recently. And it's like, yeah, it's worth fighting for. And yeah, it does still matter. And yeah, those things like the Second Amendment, the 10th Amendment, and the Commerce Clause and all those things, they're real. And that's why we need to get into the fight, take this back, and turn that direction. Because we are nowhere near what this document stands for and what's been going on for the last few years. So yeah, get in the fight. You're absolutely right. It's worth fighting for. And we'll get it turned around.
Kirk?
This paper should put a cold pit into everyone's stomach by the fact that the question even needs to be asked of our nation. That said, that also means that we have an obligation as citizens, with it being asked, to answer the call that's there, which is we must become engaged in what our government is doing. We must demand from our elected officials what is necessary to get this country headed back on the right course. We must demand that government stop intruding into our lives to the scope, breadth, and depth that it is today, because that is not government's job. Government's job is to facilitate our lives, not live it for us or direct us how to do it. Does this Constitution still matter? You bet. Like Nancy, I raised my right hand and I swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution. 17 of my sailors paid the ultimate price to defend that document. Thousands others have given their lives from the last 10 years fighting to keep this nation free and defend our national interests. And many more in our future, unfortunately, will commit to do so and unfortunately lose their lives to do it. It is a document that while occasionally we as a nation choose to adjust it, it should be done carefully, judiciously, and only with great care, and our thoughts not for what is going on in the moment, but the future as well. I believe that this document is living and breathing only with what we choose to give it life to. It is our document. Each and every American owns a piece of it. Does it still matter? You bet. Am I still willing to give my life for it? Absolutely. Each and every one of you know what's required. We will continue to do it. Stay engaged with your government. Look carefully on who you're going to elect to send back to Washington. Why? Because now they will be in a position to directly affect this document. Let's keep it ours.
Please hold your applause. All right, we're going to start the lightning round. Just go from left to right. So it'll make it quicker. I want to get in as many of these as I can. Yeah, you're not first this time. Here we go. And yes or no, or one answer, one word answer. Do you support the complete repeal of Obamacare?
Yes.
No.
Yes. How are we doing?
While we wait for Obamacare to work its way through the courts, will you vote to defend all aspects of the bill? You just work it back this way. Let me read it again.
Yes.
While we wait for Obamacare to work its way through the courts, will you vote to defund all aspects of the bill?
Defund, I thought you said defend.
I did.
Will I vote to defund? Yes.
No.
Yes.
Do you support or oppose the current administration's policy of trying enemy combatants and terrorists in our federal courts rather than the military tribunals?
No.
Do you want me to repeat that? Do you support or oppose the current administration's policy of trying enemy combatants and terrorists in our federal courts rather than military tribunals?
Yes.
No.
All right. This one I've got to get in. Are you for or against Yucca Mountain?
Maybe.
Depends.
4.
All right. Choose one committee in Congress you would like to serve on.
Armed Services.
Ways and Means.
Public lands.
States like Georgia and Indiana have passed laws requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote. Would you introduce similar legislation at the federal level?
Yes.
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 All right. Now you're off the hook. As we're concluding, it's time for your closing statements, and I need to limit you to 1 minute.
Well, that'll be easy because when we got this question, that was most of my closing speech. So let me instead, I started out with the question, what kinds of things did we agree on? And from what I heard, I think we agreed on the Patriot Act. I think we agreed on closing tax loopholes. I think we agreed on too big to fail. I know we agreed on the Constitution. So I would hope that we would stop the campaigns that just hate one another. We need to get serious in this country about what needs to be done. We aren't going to agree with everyone, and party label is a real problem. We have to understand the basic things that have to be done and those things that have to be done first. So I implore all of you and all of America to do what Eisenhower said. And Eisenhower said, politics should be everybody's part-time job.
Thanks, Nancy. Thank you folks for coming. I think when you make your choice, you should ask some questions. Will you listen and interact with the people who gave you the job? Have you demonstrated that in your public service over the last 15 years? How have you performed over the last 15 years on the tough fights? Have you engaged in the fights, or have you just kind of hung out? Where were you when they tried to create a state income tax in 2003? Where were you when they tried to increase the funding for the K-12 spending in 2009 in the face of 40% general fund revenue drops? Were you somebody who got along, or were you somebody who went into the fight? And you know what? It's nice when you prevail, but you've also got to stand your ground when you think you're right and you're doing the thing that the people who gave you the job did. Most recently, you said, where will you be? Will you stand and fight, or will you go away? I produced an ad that was put out a few days ago that got a lot of people pretty upset. But you know what? The people that were most upset were the ones who didn't want to talk about the issue. Too much debt, too much spending, and unequivocally telling you the truth. If telling you the truth matters, then I hope you'll give me some serious consideration. Thanks.
Kirk?
The choice you are about to make is going to set the tone for what is going to happen in 2012, because it will be leveraged to advantage if this district changes its party. The reality of it is going to take leadership, it is going to take integrity, and it is going to take someone with the breadth and depth of experience necessary to go back to Washington and stand in the middle of an ethical firestorm. The amount of heat and pressure that gets applied to individuals as you begin to work is unbelievable. Those who do not have that solid backbone and strength of character to do that will end up in trouble. We do not need that again here in Nevada. I will represent your values, your principles, and your ethics 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, because I want you to know that you can be proud of the job that I'm doing, that I will represent you the entire time. I will reach back to you. I will live in Nevada. I will commute to Washington, and I will do what is necessary to make sure that our state becomes the greatest state in the U.S.
And this concludes our event for this evening. I want to thank our timekeeper, Tim. Thank you, good job. I want to thank all of the candidates that came out this evening. Now you can applaud. And more importantly, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight, getting involved, and please vote. That is your voice. I'm Karen from KNYE Radio. It has been a pleasure to be here with you tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, the candidates that came and put yourself on the line like that. I know it's hard to answer those questions, but we, the people, appreciate it. And please get out and vote. Like Karen said, it's your job to make sure that our state runs the way it's supposed to and that our country runs the way it's supposed to. You have the right, you have the vote. You need to get out and be responsible and vote responsibly. And I think tonight you saw the candidates, so you've been able to make a really good decision. I just wanted you to know that Kate Marshall was invited to come tonight. She did not respond to the request. So if you're wondering why she wasn't here, she did not respond. Thank you so much. Please go to www.trumponline.com and please donate to us if you'd like to see more events like this in the future. And Meals on Wheels is still out there. The bucket's still there. And get your straw polls turned in. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.